What is the stock market showing us about the condition of the economy? Here to help us navigate in these financially challenging times is Andrew Wigzell. Andrew is a senior financial planner with Barnum and is one of the firm's investment specialists. Andrew is also responsible for managing assets for individuals as well as corporate clients. Welcome back, Andrew.
Good to be back.
How do the elections actually affect the stock market?
Well, I think that the stock market has certainly priced in a very strong Republican showing. It's unclear for the next couple of months if they've made the right bet.
And if the Democrats had retained the House, what would that have done?
Well, certainly I think that would have really affected tax policy, both income tax policy as well as death tax policy, certainly next year and into the future.
So you're saying basically politics does affect the stock market?
Oh, absolutely. Usually on the periphery, but issues that we care about, whether it's creating jobs or focusing on taxes.
Okay, now, what is the connection between the stock market and the economy? Is there really one?
There is, but it's not as strong as people think. The stock market is really a forward indicator of where it thinks the economy is going to be. And with the stock market rising as much as it has, and certainly in the last 5 or 6 weeks, the thought is that the economy is improving, just not as much as we had hoped.
Well, just a few weeks ago, I want to say it actually dropped below 10,000. Was that a bit of a scary day for you?
Certainly it generates some phone calls. The good thing about Barnum is that we're very proactive, and we try to prepare our clients for some bumps in the road, as we saw 5 or 6 weeks ago.
So what happened on that day? How did you advise your clients?
Well, it was really based on a jobs number. The jobs number was not as good as people had hoped, and as a result, people traded out of risk. And our job is to make sure we manage risk not just on the day-to-day, but over the long term.
All right. So when you look at the stock market, and let's take a look at the picture of the employment picture.
Yes.
What effect does that have on jobs?
Certainly, politics, the stock market, all play into the jobs picture. It's how are we creating the jobs? Are the jobs the same jobs we had 3 or 4 years ago with the same salaries? Or are there new and different jobs, perhaps at salaries less than we had hoped for?
All right. The stock market is now over 11,000.
It is.
Are we out of the recession?
Unfortunately, it takes a little time for us to know. We won't know for several months. But the view is that we are growing our way out of some very, very tough times.
All right. What are you optimistic about?
I personally am optimistic about the economy for the long term. We took a tremendous punch in the gut. And the fact that America has been able to come together, regardless of politics, and put into place some strategies, some that are working, some that could do better, ultimately we're going to grow our way out of this.
Is there any specific industry that you feel good about?
There are lots. One of the things that every time I've been on this program, I've talked about everyday analysis. And that's everything from food and beverage companies to defense contractors to new corporations like healthcare companies and insurance companies that might profit from the new regulation.
I often hear people like yourself recommending stocks for people to buy, the things that you actually buy yourself, that you're actually a consumer of. Is that still work for most consumers?
Absolutely. Being an everyday analyst is important. Where do you shop? What are the items that you buy? Many of the companies that produce the products that you buy on a daily basis pay very, very strong dividends and have a history of growing those dividends.
You say that people should be looking at certain, what's the advice you actually give to people when they're considering buying stocks? You say to pay attention to competitive
advantages,
right,
or wide moats, any barrier to
What exactly
entry.
does that mean, competitive moats?
An example would be an aerospace company. It's very difficult to start an aerospace company. It's very difficult to maintain one. And so there are high barriers to entry. So those companies who are already doing it well all pay very strong dividends. Connecticut companies are included in that mix. And as a result, they tend to be very profitable over time.
And where do you get all that information? Where can you find it?
Fortunately, a lot of that comes from the Internet now, and that's one source. I would argue that spending some time with someone like me or members of the firm at Barnum Financial are very important so that you can have a good understanding of what your risk tolerance is so we can help you pick the right investments.
What are some of the mistakes people make when they're investing in this type of economy that we're in right now?
Certainly the biggest mistake is that they focus more on their thoughts and their feelings and less on the fundamentals. They act with emotion and not necessarily with any kind of analysis.
But if somebody comes to someone like you, then you give them that type of analysis?
Absolutely. It's one more component. That is not to say that there isn't trading on fear and on greed, but what we try to do is make sure that there's some analysis behind it so that when we get into turbulent times, like the down day that we had just a few weeks ago, we don't panic.
I know that a lot of times when things like that happen, people tend to start looking for more information on the internet, and some of that information is not right.
That's absolutely right. And so before you head for the door, I think it makes sense to pick up the phone and make a phone call to someone at Barnum Financial and at least have an assessment of where your risk tolerance is.
Very good. And if you want to get in touch with Andrew, all the information is right there on the screen. He's located in Shelton, or come to our website and we'll have that link for you. Andrew, again, thank you for being here. Always great to have you.
It's always great to see you.
Thanks. And coming up next, it's a preview of New Haven Restaurant Week with Mia's Sushi when Connecticut Style returns. So stick around.